So at the minute I'm working on a Mercedes C63s, which I'm doing a full system upgrade on. This video is more focused around the custom work I'll be doing on the tweeters, not so much the system itself. But to give you a bit of context, so in order some Voce tweeters and mid-range up front. In order some Prima 8-inch woofers in the footwells. It's having Eaton 4-inch coaxials in the rear. This will all be powered off and order some Forza 8.9-bit amplifier, which is going to go under the seat, and it's also having a 10-inch active Prima sub in the boot. So the reason I'm making something custom for the tweeters is because this is a basic audio system, so it doesn't have a tweeter location from the factory. In the upgraded system, you'd find it in the door next to the mid-range, but this doesn't have it. So I called Mercedes, asked them for price and availability. One of them was back ordered, they couldn't give me a date on that. So chatted with the customer and we quickly moved on from it and decided just to go down a custom route. So option one is cut a hole where the tweeter would be on the new trim and sort of surface mount the tweeter there. This was just a complete no-go for me. It's not the kind of work I like to do, just cutting holes and surface mounting stuff. So if it was going in that location, it had to be in that new trim. So we moved on from that. The other option is the A-pillar. Didn't really want to put it there either. It's not trimmed in a material from factory, so it's just plastic. It's got a leather print into it. So if I custom made anything for this, it would have to be retrimmed after. Probably like an Alcantara or something. And I just didn't want to have a mismatch in the interior with different materials. So kind of moved on from that one. So option three is the mirror triangle, but it doesn't exist in this vehicle. So you can't call Mercedes and order it in because it was just never made. So the idea I've got is to design and 3D print like a complete OEM unit that goes there, which will also house the new tweeter. So I know more or less what shape I want it to be and how I want it to look. I can usually visualize this quite quickly. From there, it's just taking that visualization and working it backwards, almost deconstructing the finished part, going step by step back until you get to step one. So once you've done that, you've got basically a plan moving forward. This part can take some time, it's job dependent. You got to watch out for whatever limitations are there and just really thoroughly figure it out before you even make a start. So I now want to 3D print these and I need to design them on the computer to be able to do that. So I need some sort of reference to be able to work off. My idea is to create a rough model of the part out of cardboard so I can use that and transfer all the dimensions over. So although it's going to be quite rough and quite basic, I do need to be as accurate as I can. So I want to scribe everything in, make sure there's no gaps between the cardboard and where it meets the car. This will just save me a lot of time further down the line where I have to correct these issues. So if I can get it right now, it's just going to make things run a lot smoother. This is where I'm at the minute. This front edge on the front one, that'll obviously have a radius on it. So that will change the shape again. I'll obviously do that on the computer. So all I need to really do now is mask off the area, glue these parts together, the right offsets and everything, and then start taking my measurements. Now this model's done, I transfer this over to the computer, start taking my measurements, copy the profiles over. Once I've built that, I can start messing around with the tweeter position. Just punch a hole through that, play around with the angle and how it's going to sit in the trim. I do need to think about fixing as well, which I've got an idea, but I'll see how I get on again when I'm modelling it. It's basically going to be a tab off the back that comes under as well, so it will slot over the back of the door card. I'll print it, test it. There's going to be a lot of testing, there always is. Never get it right first time, but I want to get it as close as I can with the print. because I don't want to be adding too much filler to it. I might add filler on the back sort of intentionally, because on the car side there's a small triangular profile with contours, so I think it might be a better fit if I put some filler on the back, put it in while it's wet. It'll transfer that profile onto the back of that, and that'll be a really nice snug fit then. It's not got any chance of moving. Easiest way to transfer the profiles over to the computer is just scan it. It doesn't need anything special, just a regular desktop scanner. You can scan that profile in, import into the CAD software, just make sure it's scaled up properly so it's accurate, and then just draw around the profile. I literally do this for everything, so speaker adapters, amp, mounting bases, just anything that'll fit. Even if it won't fit, you can piece it together, draw around it on paper, whatever. Just that is the most accurate way of getting onto the computer. So now it's scanned in, draw around that profile, and then just start building it into 3D model. Just take measurements off the cardboard template and just use that as my main reference. Just continually build the model. It's quite tricky in this one because the 3 planes that I'm working with that I've got out of cardboard, none of them are actually parallel with each other, so they're all angled, they're all offset as well. So just got to be really careful to make sure it's transferred over properly. Pretty pleased with how it's looking so far. Obviously I'm not going to know until I print it and offer it in. Just hopefully I've transferred the measurements over well enough. I've had to kind of eyeball the angle for the tweeter, but again, when I offer it in, it'll just give me a good indication if any changes need to be made. I can take measurements off that as well and just refine the model further. I haven't put the fixing on either. I didn't see much point at this stage. I think getting the top bit right is the main thing, and then afterwards I'll do the fixing, because it's not going to change the shape or anything of the top. So I'll get it printed now. There's 3-hour print. I have shelled it out, so the whole part is only 1mm thick throughout. I didn't see any point again in printing a completely solid part, which would have taken a lot longer. So if I can test this one, it'll still give me the references I need. So initial print came out really well. The profiles fit fine, fits up against the A-pillar and the door properly, so that's great. The only issue with this one is that the tweeter is literally pointing down, so that needs adjusting. So I've tweaked the model, changed the tweeter angle, and I've added the tab on as well. Now I've printed this one, there are a few adjustments still to make. The tweeter does need bringing up slightly still. It's nearly there, but it's just a little bit more. The tab, the theory of it works fine. I just need to add a slight angle on that as well. It grips over the back of the door card nicely, but there's just too much tension there against the actual door. Obviously you don't want the tension, it's just going to encourage it to break. So now for the 3rd version, it's sitting perfect. Profiles are fine obviously, tweeter angle's spot on. The tab with that little angle, no tension there, sits over the door card, doesn't move about. So yeah, really happy with how that's come out. So I've keyed the back of the mount, just used some sandpaper, used the Dremel as well, just so the filler's got something to stick to, something to grab onto. I've masked off the area. I'm just going to give it one final check over now for position, mark it out on the masking tape, because I need to drop the door card slightly, apply the filler to the mount, and then quickly reassemble it all, push it into position before it goes off. So I drop this door card slightly. Leave me a gap. So apply my filler. Push that into position up to a pencil mark. And then line this through. Make sure we're on properly. Carry on scribing this edge in. Now that's off, I can take the masking tape off the back. Now that's given us that shape inside, so that's a perfect fit for that seal. So when that goes back in, that should be absolutely bang on. So I've just done the same to the right hand side. So I'm going to make a start on this one. Basically just going to take some 120 grit, flatten this filler back, following the planes of the side. So just going to follow it all the way across and just make all that level. On this part in particular, there isn't actually a lot of shaping to do, it's more about finishing the surface. So it's basically just a case of sanding and filling, working on the shape until I'm happy with it, removing any high spots or low spots. My general workflow is 120 grit to key the surface, filler, 120 grit on that filler, 220 grit, filler, 400 grit, filler, and then I'll always paint over 400 grit, so put some primer down over that. This workflow obviously changes, it's never just that straightforward. You've always got to go back some steps, go back a few grits, add more filler. It's really dependent on the geometry and what you're doing. The key thing with this kind of work is just patience. Like, the more time you put in, the better the results are going to be. The more particular you are, the better the shape. You know, it all adds up at the end. So if you do skip any steps now and just think, oh, that'll do, it very likely show in the end. So it's really just a matter of patience. So nice seeing it at this stage. Everything seems to fit all right. That back edge is sound, that scribed in nicely. Tabs worked great. Sits up against the pillar fine when you shut the door. So yeah, really happy with it. I just need some primer on it now, and I need to just dig this filler out from the middle still. Put some primer on it. That'll show me any imperfections, which there probably are a few, so probably a little bit of bodywork left, and then just paint. So then that one will be done. Then I've just got the other one to do. Yeah. The other one wasn't that bad. The second one always goes quicker. You've got the first one to use as a reference. You're familiar with the shape, you know where you've got to put filler, where to avoid packing too much filler on, how you got to sand it, and you know everything. You've already done the job basically. You're just repeating it for a second time. So I've sorted out the small imperfections, little pinholes, painting them up, giving them a test fit, and they fit really well. Like, I really couldn't be happy with these. They've definitely got an OEM feel to them. If you follow any of my other work, you'll know that that's really the look I go for every time. I'm not really into trimming stuff, and unless it's a part of a theme in the vehicle. But if not, I'd just rather finish it in plastic, you know, make it look like a plastic part, like an OEM part, not draw too much attention to it, just so it's fitting with the rest of the interior. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Maybe you learned something, maybe you didn't really teach you anything, but hopefully you enjoyed watching it. If you did, I'll leave some links to some other stuff that I've filmed, similar projects, at the end of the video. But yeah, that's me done. Finished.